British American Tobacco. And then we've got Capitec. With Capitec, yes, like it's a star, hey? It's a high number. It's a very...
You are even stunned.
It's a very, very high number. And something interesting, which I actually just want to chat about Capitec, is that I looked at their market cap.
Yeah.
Their market cap, they are fast approaching Standard Bank's market cap. So I looked at the rankings and I'll put the numbers here, looking at the share price. The biggest bank in South Africa as far as the biggest bank stock, rather, let me say that, in terms of market cap.
First Rand, right?
It's First Rand with about the market cap about 425 billion Rand. Number 2 is Standard Bank with a market cap of about 360 billion. Number 3 is Capitec with about 330. Yes, like it. They are fast approaching Standard Bank's market cap.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2025. Welcome to the new year, to the Investment Candle podcast. My name is Chipiwa, aka Chief, and I'm not rolling alone.
Yeah, man.
I'm rolling with Nico. How's it going, man? Good to be back. You good?
Yeah, man, it's fantastic to be back.
Yeah.
A lot has happened, both personally and professionally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I'm just very, very happy to be
I
back.
think let's just start there when you say a lot happens.
Yeah.
Like on behalf of investors, right?
Yeah.
Would like to say congratulations.
Thank you so
my
much,
man.
my
This man
brother.
disappeared and then guys, we disappeared.
Yeah.
But this man was taking handle of business.
I was.
You got married, man.
Bro, I'm
Has
here
that
now.
has that
I
been
am here.
your greatest investment so far?
Oh, it's a fantastic investment. One that is
Your wife is
yielding-
listening.
Bro, it is yielding early results.
Two are better than one, yeah?
Yeah, no, in every sense of the word. I should have done it sooner, to be quite
Yeah.
honest.
I think we'll put like a picture of you here somewhere with the
with me and my wife.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll
Because it
definitely
was
do that.
beautiful, man. Like
Yeah.
I was just sitting there. I'm like,
Thank you for coming. Yeah.
I'm like, amazing stuff, man. Amazing stuff.
Did you enjoy the wedding?
No, I did. I really did. The part I enjoyed was you dancing. That is the part I enjoyed most.
Yeah. No, it was brilliant, mate. So now I'm a married man, which is very, very nice.
Yeah.
But I think I should have done it maybe a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
But hey, better late than never.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly,
man.
Exactly.
And but sorry, just to change the subject a bit, but
Yeah.
I'm seeing something very egregious here.
Yeah.
For all those that have been watching us know that Chifiwa is a Manchester United supporter.
I can explain.
And then now he's wearing a Manchester City jersey.
I can explain.
What is going
I
on?
can explain. So I got this as a gift, right?
Yeah.
And the person that bought this doesn't know the difference between Man City and Man United. So
Okay.
the person doesn't watch football.
Red and blue.
Yeah, doesn't watch football. So they just went and bought this as a gift. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to wear it once.
Yeah.
And then I wore it once.
Yeah.
And then it's been sitting on my cupboard. But then I haven't done laundry in like 2-3 weeks. So I'm like, this is the only t-shirt I have left, mate.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
I'm telling
I
you
think
the
things.
truth.
I think things in Manchester United have been so bad that you were tempted. You were just like, listen, let me jump ship.
Never.
Yeah.
Man U forever, man. Like, glory to Man United forever.
Ah, man. But like, you guys still have been performing quite badly, and you
I
haven't been
think-
improving. Eh?
I think it just keeps getting worse, man.
Yeah.
Like, when you're so consistent in being inconsistent, it's just like, I don't know what's happening because one game we've got Arsenal on the horns, we've got Man City on the horns, and then the next game you play against Bournemouth
And you lose 3-1.
and you lose 3-0 or 3-1 or 5-something.
Yeah.
Where's the logic here?
I don't understand
Like,
it. No, mate.
And
I don't
worst of it, you're losing at home.
I don't understand it because like
I don't get it.
I started watching football during the Arsene Wenger versus Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah.
Roy Keane versus Patrick Vieira.
Yeah,
That type
that
of
era.
dress.
Yeah.
That era. And for the life of me, mate, I can't get used, and it's been happening. Here's a bit of perspective. The bad run of form has been happening for over 10 years now, but yet I'm still shocked by it because I started watching football during that era.
Yeah.
So I'm not okay with it, bro. Like seeing you guys do this, I'm like,
Bro, we're fighting relegation
it's
now, bro.
weird. I find it very weird. As much as how I'm an Arsenal supporter, I'm finding it very offensive to my childhood memories.
That's
it's
very
offensive.
weird.
It's offensive,
very
I
weird.
think.
But anyway,
Yeah.
let's go to to what's happening on the stocks, man.
Yeah. So this is the edition of episode 18.
Yeah.
Portfolio.
Check some portfolio checks
Portfolio
there.
check. A lot's been happening. Some great stuff has been happening. So,
And just to remind you, last year we selected the All Share Index as our benchmark.
Yeah, quite right.
So
Yeah.
Nico is gonna take it away
Yeah. So
with a smile.
it's some good stuff because it's important. Just when you mentioned a benchmark, and I think I would even encourage you to go through it again as to why is it important to go through a benchmark.
Yeah.
But it's important so that's when you can actually really measure outperformance, alpha. In its pure sense of the word, you can't really do that without a benchmark. Because the only thing when it turns positive, that's when you think you're going to be doing well. But no, there needs to be a bit of a higher hurdle rate, which you have to jump. That's when you start getting outperformance. So this is how our portfolio looks at the moment. We are, for the past year, we are at 18%.
18%.
18%
For the past 12 months.
12 months, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, 12
Wonderful,
months,
man.
which is fantastic.
And how much was our benchmark when we checked
Our
last time?
all share is at about 12%.
12%.
So we have a bit of an outperformance.
So 6% alpha.
But 6% alpha there. Yeah, so about high 5s, 6, but like I'll put in the numbers there.
Okay.
But I mean, geez, bro, we are.
600 bips is a lot, man. Like,
Bro.
inflation alone, average in the last 12 months was 4.4%.
Bro, 600 basis points.
That's official inflation, but I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at overall inflation of your
Sure.
personal
Sure.
things that you buy,
Sure.
probably around 10%.
Roughly.
Yeah, because if you take into consideration like fuel, like food, like all those things, then your basket inflation rate is probably in the 10% region. But for us to create value of 18%, that is at least 600 bips
Yes.
more than our
Or benchmark,
benchmark,
an all share.
and at least 800 bips more than personal inflation.
That's where I want to actually dwell in that it's very, very important to look at outperformance and measure outperformance relative to your benchmark.
Exactly.
That's very, very important. So we've been performing and yeah, man, this is value add here.
Yeah.
So all those that have been following us,
You are 18% richer.
you're welcome. You're welcome. But getting into the crux of the portfolio, Anglo Platinum still struggling.
Yeah.
But I feel a lot better about the mining industry today. I would like to hear what you have to say since you're the one who actually picked Anglo Plat. Yeah, man. I saw the global economic outlook that was released by the IMF. Some of the green shoots, in fact, the obvious green shoot of the South African economy, of which it's underpinned by mining exports, has been the mining sector. Because of the lack of load shedding, we've celebrated over 300 days.
Yeah.
And also we're seeing a bit of positive movement in our rail work, in our rail network infrastructure through Transnet. The sentiment has shifted away from energy reliability. Now it's energy prices, but the sentiment has improved.
Yes,
and as
for
a
sure.
result, production also has also improved.
For
I think for me, sentiments, I'm still okay. I'm still okay with Anglo Plat.
I think just to add on Anglo Plat, right? So I think it's important to think about it in the context of I think I remember, to digress a little bit, I remember last week I was reading an article
Yeah.
and the title was PGM demand dips. Well, platinum demand dips because people are not getting married enough.
Okay. You gotta, okay, you can't just drop a bomb like that. You can't just drop a bomb like that.
I mean, I'm like, so, you know, there hasn't been, because the analysis was young people are delaying a lot of marriages.
Yeah.
As you know, like, obviously, like aluminium, all those different things, very key in making rings and all of those
Mine
things.
is silicon, by the way.
Yeah. So the guys were like, let's analyze what's actually underpinning this. And it seems like, although, you know, PGM are actually used in other aspects as semiconductors.
Yes.
But also some of the demand comes from, you know, the marriages and weddings and stuff like that. So that has reduced significantly, apparently. And that also has impacted the demand, right? More specifically in the South African context, because they've had issues when it came to exports through Transnet infrastructure that had failed in certain instances.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that. There's different dynamics that have affected the demand in that instance. However, in the Anglo-Plat, there's other fundamentals that we have to consider, like Anglo America, the holding companies actually announced a demerger last year in May sometime. So they want to kind of diversify their portfolio and have a core niche of mining companies and subsidiaries that they want to focus on. But platinum and all of that, it's not one of their future strategies. So they want to get rid of that.
Why?
I don't know.
I can't see the virtues of that.
So,
why get rid of PGMs? PGMs are very key in the transition to.
I don't know. I
green
can't
economy.
recall what the reason was, but it's part of it that they want to demerge that, and also De Beers as well, which is the diamond part.
I understand with De Beers, but I just don't get why they would want to diverse from PGMs. PGMs play a fundamental role in the green economy.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of reducing carbon emissions with the converters, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
But that's one of the reasons. So there's and as you've seen, there's been quite a few management changes here and there and shifts within Anglo-Plat. So yeah.
I'll also look into it. I just don't get it. But anyway, that's Anglo. Anglo is coming at last place with a negative 21.63%.
But maybe if you're still on Anglo-Plat, I think for me, it's still hold. I mean, one, if you sell now, in our platform, in our thing, you lock in 21% loss, right?
Yeah.
But I really think that there's all these issues that they're facing. It's something that is not remotely unsolvable.
Yeah.
You know, like it can be solved.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm confident that these issues can be solved, and we'll see the stock recover at some time in the future. As to when, it's anybody's guess.
Yeah.
But I'm confident that it can recover.
I like
recover.
Anglo Platinum. If I was to punt it, I would say buy. Yeah, I think it's a good time now. Still, the price is very much
pretty much down. I think
down,
when I was checking it in the past 3 years, I think it was about excess of 40% loss of just the share price value. And then from a total shareholder return, including dividends and all of that stuff, I think the loss was about 33%.
Goodness gracious me.
Yeah. So in the last 3 years.
It's been tough.
If you've invested in the last 3 years, you've lost 33% of total shareholder value.
Yeah, no, you've lost a lot of value.
Yeah.
That's Anglo. Then moving forward is Sun International. Sun International has actually, what's this word? Plateaued as far as the as far as the momentum that we were seeing with the increased numbers of visitors in South Africa, another thing as well, which has kind of derailed the momentum was I think it was that merger with the Piedmont Group. The Competition Commission
The deal.
absolutely torpedoed that thing. So,
But you were not in support of that deal anyway, right?
yeah, but I mean, like the thing is that if you're looking
Because
at
it was a bricks and mortar business, right? Or was it?
It was, but like, I mean, remember at the end of the day, like these companies, entertainment companies, the massive driver of value, it's their gaming. So that was where potential synergies could be had. But the Competition Commission, in their wisdom, let me just stop there. But like in their wisdom, they thought,
Sorry to cut you. Remember we had Boitumelo here?
Yeah.
And she was also against that deal as well.
Yeah.
I remember I sent her a text. I'm like, look at what the Comcom said. She's like, yeah, good riddance.
Is that what you say?
Yeah, she's like, good riddance.
I think we should get in touch with her, like over an Instagram live, just to get a feeling of.
We definitely
So
should.
she's an analyst, and she's been closely monitoring that.
Yeah.
So Sun International with a positive 1.53%.
Oh, 1%.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we get to the real drivers here. Then we get to Naspers with a positive 10.41, and those who remember with Naspers, previously it was at around about 20. It lost about 10% of its value since the last episode. I'm going to get into Naspers because that ties in nicely with our main theme of our episode today, which looks at the global economic outlook. This is because of a blacklisting that took place in the United States Department of Defense. They call them CMCs, Chinese military companies. So they have this blacklist of companies which the United States thinks they are linked to the Chinese military. And they added Tencent.
Oh,
as part of it. It happened, I think it was on about the 7th of January. And they added Tencent. And as a result, because Naspers, through process, owns about a 26% stake in Tencent, that damaged the share price of Tencent, and that had a knock-on effect on process, which had a knock-on effect on Naspers in itself. I think it's a mistake, unless if someone else can actually really explain where does Tencent tie into Chinese military. I don't understand it. I think that was a mistake from the.
I think the US's biggest concern around Chinese companies is just the sharing of information with the Chinese government, right? That can be used as intelligence of some sort, because I know we're gonna get into it, and it's the same issue with TikTok, right? That they could potentially take intelligence and as Trump puts it, like the Chinese government is spying on American citizens.
It's different because TikTok has a big operation in the United States.
Yeah.
With Tencent, majority of the value is in China itself.
Fair enough. But doesn't Tencent have, I mean, I don't know much about Tencent's operation.
Portfolio, yeah.
Doesn't Tencent also have some gaming platforms or apps that the US citizens have access to?
But I think it's different to TikTok. I think with TikTok, the US exposure is big enough to the point where if the American policymakers and leaders are feeling a little bit uncomfortable, granted. With Tencent, I'm not quite sure.
No, look, I'm not. I don't disagree on the exposure and the value that TikTok derives from the US. I mean, it's definitely big in the US, right? I have no doubt.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that just by the mere fact that Tencent is accessible in America, that could be the concern of the American government, which is pretty much the same thing that they had with the
Naspers shareholders, of which we are, this podcast is, we lost a bit of value there. It was about 20, and now it's sitting at around about 10. So massive losses.
But I mean, 10% is still not so bad.
In rand value, it's about 300 billion. Yeah. That is significant in my view. So that is actually quite significant. But that's the long and short of Naspers. We'll show you the share price here. And then we get to the real interesting companies, which I would love for you to talk about this. We've got British and American Tobacco breaking into the top 3.
Wonderful.
Hey, you picked out BAT, bro. Tell us about BAT with a positive, with a positive performance of 12.02%. What's going on with British American Tobacco?
Look, I think I did speak about this quite a bit. That there was when the green economy started, right? A lot of companies that were producing products that are environmentally unfriendly kind of took a knock, right? Like, okay, how do we adapt? How do we do all these things?
Yeah.
Like, say, for instance, like mining companies,
Yes.
for example, right? So you think if you're mining coal, how on earth can you go green, right? So obviously when countries come and say they have ambitions of net zero, ambitions of going green and all of that stuff, and start thinking about policies, everyone that is creating those products, they panic. And the market sentiment becomes negative towards the companies, right? Because they don't know what the strategy is going to be.
Yeah.
Like for mining, then they think about, okay, what if we just make the supply chain go green? Like we get our electricity from green sources and all of those things, right? So from a bad perspective, if you think about tobacco, right? I mean, you're banning that thing, smoke and all of those things. It's environmentally unfriendly and also socially unfriendly because secondary smoke is very dangerous, right? But then the government came with, you have to limit the products and all of those things. Especially the US was hammering pretty much on the tobacco industry, right? Yeah. But then I think the biggest thing that I had in mind was the ability of BAT to adapt. So if you think about, if you look at their results, they think about the new generation products, they think about the new products development and all of those things. I feel like now that the policies are kind of taking shape and all of those things, the market sentiment can see that BAT is able to adapt. And now the future outlook of BAT looks positive, such that if you increase the future expectations of a company and discount that today, you increase the value today, right?
Yeah.
So that's basically what I had in mind. I feel like the market is just catching on with me.
You're ahead of the market, bro.
I was ahead of the curve in this one.
You're definitely ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
No, but
it was negative for the longest, if you remember, in our portfolio.
And I said top 30. It's actually not top 30, top 4. But I mean, like the actual move up the ranks by British American Tobacco. And it's not necessarily because other companies have underperformed.
Yeah.
It's just pure performance by British and American Tobacco, which is encouraging to see. Another interesting thing which happened recently, Renit sold fully planned to sell all of their shares within the company, British and American Tobacco, which is interesting from the heritage side. The Rupert family, the big cornerstone of how Dr. Anton Rupert, the person that actually started the whole thing, started the business empire with was it Voorbrand with cigarettes. Which was a forerunner to Rembrandt, which ended up becoming Richmond, and then Remgro, and then Renit, which consolidated its interest in Rothmans as well as British and American Tobacco. Yeah. So they're selling that for 28 billion rand. So this is a new era for this company.
And you can imagine if just around 1% is 28 billion rand, it's, you can imagine how big the British American Tobacco is, right?
It's a big company. It's one of those corporate heritage, international corporate heritage, I think.
But also I think it's important to note that the reason why Renat is actually selling their stake has nothing to do with poor fundamentals of British American Tobacco. It's just a strategic decision of Reinet to diversify their portfolio, aligning with their strategy.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So,
Hey, it's one of those things. So well done on that. That's been a good investment.
Yeah.
I was feeling a little bit weird about it, but it has come around. So then we get to ShopRite, of which I don't think there's anything left to say.
yeah, I think what's interesting, like,
I think there's anything
remember,
left to say.
you've read the book by Walter
I
Besson,
have.
right?
Yes, I have.
I actually just bought it like 2 days ago.
Okay.
I'm going to actually read it as well. So I'm like,
I will put a picture of the name. The book is called Whitey.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's called White Tea. So I'm like, I was taking a break from work and just taking a walk. So there's this thing at work where they're like, we do step challenge. So if you have most amount of steps per day, you win some sort of a prize.
I'd win every day.
Yeah. So I was, taking my walk for the day, and then I went to the Cavendish because I work around there. So I went to the Cavendish, and then I was just walking around. I'm like, maybe I can get something. And then walked into Exclusive Bookstore, and I'm like, actually, I can get that book.
Yeah.
And then I got it. I'm like, I'm going to read this.
Fantastic book. I think what you need to look out for is the similarities of ShopRite and Walmart.
Yeah.
I think the similarities are so evident there in terms of how you structure the distribution centers, the DCs. I know we've had a conversation about this recently.
Yeah.
Using technology for satellites,
Exactly.
and also like corporately owning the stores. A lot of similarities, which I found quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's ShopRite is just reaping its return on investment. Like,
Yes.
they've invested a lot ahead of their peers, and I think they've also made right calls and decisions. So,
And they've also been
makes
helped
sense.
by their peers not making the right calls.
Yes.
So making the right calls and your competition not making, that's where the market share is also coming from.
Yeah.
That's where it's getting eaten up, in my view. But yeah, if you look at previous episodes, you will find something of ShopRite. I think we've touched on ShopRite almost
Quite a
in
lot,
every
yeah.
single episode.
Quite a
But
lot.
they're worth it. For me, it's
I agree. It's a fantastic business. I mean, it's just unfortunate now that it's a little bit expensive. I wouldn't recommend us buy because it's a bit expensive.
this is interesting, bro. I want to ask you a question. How much does price matter? Because this is good value, but the price, maybe it's a bit different.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing about it is, if you just want to own a good business, sure. But at the end of the day, you're investing to get money, man. Because if the stock doesn't have any more runway, then what's the point?
the point?
It's a good business to own long term, sure. But if you're going to enter at a big valuation, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, you're just getting there to actually just get a 1% return.
Yeah.
Whereas you could have gotten 10% return as something else. Because remember, there's an opportunity cost here.
Quite right.
Whatever you're giving at ShopRite, you could have given at, for argument's sake, I'm not saying I'm recommending it. For argument's sake, you could have invested at Boxer and ride the wave of growth of Boxer. I mean, Boxer is a fantastic business.
In my personal investments, I've partnered up with my one mate. His name is Dumsen Gwanya. We've invested in Boxer.
Yeah, like I love Boxer. And what I was excited about was that Pick n Pay has kept Boxer's numbers wrapped for a very long time because it was part of the Pick n Pay group, right?
Yeah.
They could just say, I still remember, I think they would just say retail. That just lumps Pick n Pay and Boxer. And then you're just like, where are the Boxer numbers, So right now you can actually see that Boxer on a mass market is actually doing very well, extremely well.
Yeah.
It's giving ShopRite at the bottom end because ShopRite has different brands for different market,
Yes.
right? So it's definitely giving ShopRite at the lower end a run for their money.
I agree.
So yeah, so if you like ShopRite as a group, sure, but there isn't, for me, that's my opinion, there isn't much runway for growth for me right now for ShopRite. It's just going to be a dividend stock, right? Like, you're just going to be earning dividend when you invested there. I mean, they're definitely going to pay dividend because they're going to bring some very good results.
Yes, they will.
But just in terms of the stock growth to double, it's not going to double. Unless they make an entrance into a newer market somewhere and then it's booming and all of that. We've seen that they're not very good at that as they got banned in Nigeria and the rest of Africa. So, it's that's just my opinion,
We'll see. I know, like the way that I think about ShopRite is that I think of I recently came back from the Kruger National Park. I think of it as an elephant.
Your annual trip.
An annual trip to the Kruger National Park. And I think of an elephant.
Yeah.
And this elephant is grazing and grazing and eating and eating. And man, eventually there's only so much grass and trees and leaves and food to have. And if it doesn't find new places to graze, it's going to starve and die.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting thought, of which I think the board of ShopRite are well aware of this. I see them constantly innovating. I see them making new purchases, going into different lines of products. And then obviously the digital space is still in its, not even adolescence. It's still like... There's room to grow.
You know what I think where the next growth of ShopRite or better margins is going to come from? It's going to come from their private labels, right?
Yes.
As in more and more they increase their private labels, because if you're producing food yourself, you definitely get higher margin as opposed to if you go buy, put a markup and sell, you limit it.
You did right. I agree with you. I agree with you.
So that's where I think it's going to, because the reason why Woolworths Food has like growth margins of like 40% is because it's private labels.
Theirs.
Yeah, it's private labels.
Well, private labels,
Yeah. So for them, ShopRite is still on the 18 to 20% gross margin and around 5% to 8% net margins. So they can work to improve those margins by increasing the number of private labels and demand for that. So I think that's where, we can get a lot of value out of that business, and for them to actually still keep the market share. Because at the end of the day, it's not like competitors are going to fold back their hands and be like, ShopRite is taking. No, they're going to fight back,
it's
right?
Fierce.
For territory. It's a territorial thing.
No, it is. I think you're dead right. I think more, though I did say digital and all that. The thing here is basically more outlets or more market opportunities, or that will still allow you to maintain your margins, or if not increasing, and that's definitely private labels.
Yeah, definitely.
100% agree. ShopRite, that was ShopRite. And then we have Discovery. Discovery with a positive 21.6%. Discovery has been a performer. Discovery, as well as British and American Tobacco. They have been, as far as the movements are concerned, they have been our star performers, Discovery as well as British American Tobacco. And then we've got Capitec. With Capitec, yes, like it's a star, hey? It's a high number. It's a very...
You are even stunned.
It's a very, very high number. And something interesting, which I actually just want to chat about Capitec, is that I looked at their market cap.
Yeah.
Their market cap, they are fast approaching Standard Bank's market cap. So I looked at the rankings, and I'll put the numbers here, looking at the share price. The biggest bank in South Africa, as far as the biggest bank stock, rather, let me say that, in terms of market cap.
First Rand, right?
It's First Rand with about the market cap about 425 billion Rand. Number 2 is Standard Bank with a market cap of about 360 billion. Number 3 is Capitec with about 330. Yes, like it. They are fast approaching Standard Bank's market cap. And they're the largest as far as retail clients are concerned as well.
Of course.
My God. Oh my God.
I mean, it's no brainer that Capitec has come and taken the banking industry by storm, right? Like
I think that's even an understatement.
like they have captured the retail market by storm.
Yeah.
But I think I was chatting to my boss the other day. She was telling me that, I should have invested at Capitec when there was time.
I remember I remember when I was in varsity, doing my first year at varsity, I think the share price was about 500 Rand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then it was late last year. It reached its highest ever at north of 3,000.
3,000.
So I'm like, gee whiz. I read the book, Let's Build a Bank.
Yeah.
Right? Not many people have read that book.
Yeah.
So Let's Build a Bank. I know there's a new book at the moment which was written by TJ Stradom about Capitec. But I read the book that was written by Capitec. They're giving them a blow by blow as to how they built that bank. That share price, mate, when it listed, that thing, it was a Coca-Cola can of Coca-Cola was more expensive than that Capitec share price.
Yeah. That's fair.
That is absolutely amazing. I think Capitec is one of the greatest business stories in African business history. It's amazing.
Definitely.
It's absolutely. And I think if this thing was either European or American, dude, we would be not hearing the end of it, eh?
Yeah, and I think also the mere fact that I think the growth of Capitec, if it was in America, it would have accelerated much faster than it has, because there's just pool of money in America.
Yeah, no,
look. I think we've had the debate around tech that look at tech startups, right? Tech startups reach valuations of unicorn before they even sell a product in the market.
That is true.
I'm just like,
I still don't quite understand
these
it. These
VCs are crazy, man. Yeah, it's because
I still don't quite understand
it's because of funding rounds, right? You find that they're having multiple rounds, and because of that, the it's like capital on capital, and they just keep increasing the value without substance underneath.
I mean, at the end of the day, what drives a good investment is obviously an underlying asset. Now, if the fundamentals of the underlying assets are not there, it will end in tears, and it almost always ends in tears.
Like I think the classic story is the story by a woman called Elizabeth
Holmes.
Yes. Her startup was called Theranos something.
Theranos.
It was about analyzing blood and all of those things.
I remember it well. It was a Silicon Valley unicorn.
But it has not sold any single one product.
Yeah, no. There's some things which I had some misgivings in that regard with Tesla as well. But yeah, some things have taken place with Tesla which kind of made me almost made me change my mind. I'm still not fully on board, but
there's another competitor of Tesla that makes what's their name, man? They also went unicorn without selling any single vehicle. I forgot their name, man. I can just check it.
Yeah, you can just check it out now.
Like they reached a unicorn, and then I was like, what?
Yeah, mate. But as you search that is the portfolio check. Capitec is at about positive 87%. And that's where we are. But what's key there is that we're not only...
Rivian.
What?
Rivian.
What do they do?
It's a electric vehicle company.
It's fine. And they haven't sold anything, eh?
They had not sold anything.
And yet it was a unicorn.
Yeah.
Hey, it's one of those things, man. It's one of those things that make America risky, but it also makes them great at the same time, I think. But I think back to the portfolio check, one thing is important is what we started with, and that we're not only doing well, we are outperforming the benchmark. And that outperformance, that's where you really, really, as a money manager, asset manager, that's where you show how good you are.
That's why we pay the fees. I mean,
we need outperformance, brother.
Yeah.
So that's the portfolio check.
The more they create value, the more we give you the fees.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Like speaking of Sun International, right? So in December I was in Bali,
Okay.
Spent
that's very nice.
Christmas there. Yeah, it was beautiful. I won't lie. It is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But it was raining season that side. So, but it was quick showers. So it would rain in the morning and then go play and then come back in the evening. But during the day, it's hot and humid. Even when it's raining, because I was doing like jet ski when it was raining. Because it's not cold when it's raining. Like, it's still humid, but it's not cold. So the biggest thing that I actually realized, like, Bali, the biggest thing there is tourism. That's their biggest revenue contributor to the economy.
Yeah.
And the way those guys takes it so seriously, I could see, I'm like, if South Africans took tourism seriously,
Yeah.
we would be making a killing.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that a guy that works just like to take your bags at the resort, take your bags to like reception and bring them to your room. My man, that man takes it so seriously that you would think he's saving lives like a doctor. I'm not joking.
No, I hear what you're saying.
I went to a monkey forest. It's nothing unique.
It's
We've got
monkeys.
monkeys everywhere here.
Yeah.
It's a monkey forest. We go there. A guy that is just there to tell you, okay, if you want to see more monkeys, you can go there. But he takes his job seriously.
Yeah.
And he takes it so seriously that he's not rude to customers and all. But in South Africa, the difference is like this, man.
It's big. I think maybe
I don't get it.
like, okay, before we get to our outlook as to what we will think about what will take place this year, on tourism, for me, because I was born in Bushbuckridge and Mpumalanga, Lowveld and Limpopo area, I take tourism very, very seriously because I know how much it means to my community back home. I think there are some underlying factors which are so key to good tourism experience. Bread and butter things. So, for example, safety. So, did you feel safe in Bali?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So you see, now the thing that in South Africa as a whole, just it's even beyond tourism, safety is still a concern. So it's very difficult now to expect many visitors to come and enjoy the beaches here in Cape Town or Durban or the Bushveld in Kruger Park if the safety is, it's a little bit weird. We recently come out of an dark period, literally dark period of no electricity. How can we now sell South Africa as a tourism destination if we're battling with power?
Look,
but those, like, the point I'm making here is that I'm not necessarily putting it solely on holiday makers for experience making. I'm saying that the economy as a whole is suffering from real challenges which are bleeding onto the tourism sector.
Yeah. No, look, I get your point. Those are other factors, right? But I'm just talking a little thing as a service. If you go to a South African resort, their staff will treat you like you didn't pay, my man. Like they're doing you.
But like, we shouldn't
favor.
generalize, because
because I've had more experiences like that in South Africa. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Like, I've been to Durban, same thing. I've been to Mpumalanga, same thing. Cape Town, same thing. Garden Route, same thing. And it's people of different colors and cultural diverse, right? I'm like, we have so much to offer, but we don't take it seriously by, I'm telling you, my man, like something as easy as, like, we paid a tour guide, right? Like, we got the tour guide experience and all of something as easy as going to see a temple, because this guy is very big on temple. And that tour guide, all he had to do was to explain what the temple. You can see the passion. You can see someone is enjoying this. Like, I could see the difference that people that side actually value that this is all they have, right?
No, I don't disagree with you. And obviously you have way more international experience than almost anyone that I know. So I will take your word for it. However, I'm just saying, like, with bad service, yes, there's bad service, but there's also great service. Just previously, this past period, my wife and I went on a Christmas dinner at the Cape Grace at the Heirloom restaurant there. Yeah, I've never received better service than that in my life. It was a chap by the name of Sive. I'll say his name here, but he was so detailed orientated, and he, like, you know, that thing of waiters always coming too much to your table. He knew exactly when to come there, say that joke, offer that. I think it was. I think it
That's
was.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but like there are places like that which I've got to experience, and obviously the Kruger Park, which I think they make it a point for me, in my view, they make it a point to actually treat people very, very well.
I've never stayed in a Kruger Park. I should try.
Maybe, but I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
The point that I was just making is that what's affecting our tourism sector fundamentally, it's not necessarily the holiday makers themselves. It's the underlying issues that we have in our broader economy.
Look, I think I to a certain extent I disagree, because if
Okay.
you look at the number of people that have traveled to Cape Town, I think the Airport South Africa released the stats that
Yeah.
in December alone, during the Christmas period, they have processed 1 million internationals. 1 million.
I think it can be more,
That's a whole lot of people.
but I think it can be more.
But that's just 1 month. Or not even 1 month. That Christmas period.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of people.
I think it can be more, mate. Like the own goals that we're scoring, like in the broader economy, are so big to the point that it's undermining everything. I think it can be more. I really
Sure,
think it can
I
be
agree.
more.
But look at all the listings that comes out. Cape Town is the best city and all of that.
Yes.
Like, there's
Well
been
done,
a
Cape
whole
Town.
lot of that, right? Like, a proper marketing has happened and
Yeah, but mate, I think we should move on. I think we should move on. So I think I've got a question here, and basically you can break it up into the different parts of the world.
For sure.
Because our portfolio has, especially guys like Naspers, we've got operations in China and Europe and all that. Yeah, basically, I want to get your economic outlook. Where is the world going? What are the mega trends? What do you think is going to happen? Where?
I remember
When, if you can come up with the when and when.
I remember in finance class when you were doing a company analysis or evaluation.
Yeah.
You always used to start global
You work your way down.
and then
Top down.
South African economy and then company and stuff. So if you look at the global economy, I think it's gonna be interesting, more especially because Trump has won elections.
Yes.
And as you know, America has a lot of influence, especially with the conflict that is happening in the Middle East and the conflict that is happening in Europe with
Eastern Europe.
Ukraine and Ukraine and Russia. So at least now in the Middle East, they have reached a ceasefire solution.
I'm very glad about that.
Apparently credit to Donald Trump.
I don't know.
So it's gonna be very interesting on what Trump comes with in terms of the global influence and all of that, because we know America is always going to have influence in the rest of the world, right? So if that stops, for instance, in Ukraine war, if that stops, then we'll see some of the global exports and stuff like that come back.
Yeah.
And then the Middle East as well. For me, the most important thing is the bloodshed. I just want the bloodshed to stop.
Yeah, me too.
And then just from an economy perspective, I think it's going to be interesting, particularly for South Africa,
Yes.
as there's been a lot of, I think not a lot, there's some policymaker that was pushing for South Africa to be removed out of AGOA.
Yeah.
How Trump will view our relationship with Russia, because we have close
we have
allegiance
ties.
with Russia.
We have ties, yeah.
And also on top of that with BRICS, because BRICS, it's Brazil, India,
Russia.
China and Russia, right?
And us, BRICS, yeah.
So it's these things, right, that we're thinking about, that it's going to affect us. We'll see how that's going to affect us, because there's been a whole lot of U.S. government officials that have spoken so negatively about South Africa.
It's true.
Quite strongly even, about condemning our relationship with Russia, and also condemning our case that we brought to the International
The court.
the international court against Israel. And of course, America supports Israel for whatever reasons, we don't know. Because they think they have a relationship from back in the day.
That's fine,
So those are elements that I'm thinking about. But from a South African perspective, for me, what's going to be interesting is what Cyril is going to leave as his legacy. Because he's on his last term.
Yes.
What the GNU is thinking about. There's always conflict around policy between the two major parties within the GNU, which is the DA and the ANC. One interesting incident that happened now that the matric results were out, the DA always has this thing where they adjust the pass rate, because the national pass rate announced by the minister was like 87, I think.
Yeah.
So the DA came out to say that the actual real pass rate is 53%. And what was interesting was that the minister, who comes from the DA, actually disagreed with the DA in public and said, no, I
that's some political stuff.
It's going to be a very interesting political environment in South Africa. On top of that, I think what's going to be interesting is who's going to be the next president of the ANC. Because
so that's the next big thing.
The next big thing as well. Is it gonna be Mashatile?
Is it someone else?
Is it gonna be Fikile Mbalula? Is it gonna be what's this guy that is Premier of Gauteng?
Panyaza
Lesufi. Those are the strong candidates that are emerging within the ANC. And I think like the GNU, there's a lot of disagreement around foreign policy, as the DA wants strong ties with the US, and the ANC has always had strong ties with Russia. So that in itself is a very interesting aspect. That's pretty much my analysis, mate.
I hear you, brother. I think for me, I'm just, a few things as well. I'll try to be brief. I'm glad that last year came and went. Last year.
You got married last year, man.
No, I'm talking about like from a
jokes.
No, I'm talking about from just a geo outlook.
Yeah.
So last year brought with it plenty of uncertainty, which was informed by elections all over the world, of which South Africa's elections was also included. So there was elections here, there was elections in the United States, there were elections across Europe. And by and large, most elections, except for a few, Mozambique, they had a bit of issues, which they're still dealing with. Most of those elections went off without a hitch, of which I'm very, very glad.
Except Mozambique.
Yes, I mentioned Mozambique.
Yeah, Mozambique.
So I did say Mozambique.
Sad,
So I think the uncertainty that elections do bring, it seeps into markets, into daily lives. But I can say with confidence that by and large, that year came and went, and nothing broke. So that's the first thing. So there's more certainty this year, as far as the political front is concerned.
Yeah.
In the United States, I think the United States is going to have a fantastic year today. Not today, this year. I think it's going to have a fantastic year. There's a feel good about Donald Trump's evident pro-business stance. Whether his stance on international cooperation is there, so international trade in itself, there's a bit of uncertainty there. But within the United States itself, it's definitely pro-business. They're going to have a look at tax reform, which is always good for corporates, and that type of thing. They're also going to have a look at immigration as well. I'm not going to voice out my opinion on that.
It was interesting to see all the executive orders that he made on his first day as a president. This is a lot, man. Like, bruh, just celebrate and relax, man. Like, what's all these problems that you're causing on the first day?
I mean, I think it is what it is. And if I had to look at it and just share personally, it is a little bit refreshing to see a president actually doing what he said that he will do.
Yeah.
That is very refreshing.
Okay.
But going back to the economic side, I saw the IMF, they released the global economic outlook. They revised the US upwards by 0.5%. And there's a number of factors that inform that. One of them is the deepening capital markets, deepest in the world, widest and deepest in the world. Tech, so productivity growth informed by AI tech. And then last but not least is the energy. So energy availability, also energy prices. I learned recently that the United States in 2010, they were producing about 5 million barrels a day. And now they are producing about 13 million barrels a day of oil. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. They need about 18 million roughly barrels a day to be fully self-sufficient. But the gains that they've made, and I think they'll continue making, these gains have been made through a Barack Obama presidency, Donald Trump presidency, Joe Biden presidency, and now Donald Trump presidency. If you can have those productivity gains throughout the different presidents, different political parties in the administration, I think that tells me of a robust nation. And I think there's no reason why that is going to stop. I think the United States is going to have one hell of a year. And then in Europe, which I think people have been so pessimistic about the Europe, also for very, very valid reasons. In fact, it's the exact opposite of the United States. What we see in the United States, we don't see in Europe. But I think it's too much. I think that the way that people have been bullocking on Europe, I think it's a bit too much. So I think there could be potential opportunity there. What are the risks that I see in Europe? The fact that there's still no capital markets union. So it's very, very difficult to raise capital in one place and for that capital to go into another place, The fact that they have not completed the banking union, it's weird, man. It doesn't allow banks to consolidate. It's very difficult for banks to actually merge with one another and actually consolidate.
They have the ECB.
And compete. But like in the ECB, they only have that from a prudential authority supervision. But as far as crisis management, and as far as just general rules of banking mergers, fundamental transactions, that's still fragmented. And I think that's holding them back. And then the last but not least is tech, Bro, where are the European tech companies? Where are they? So I think those are some of the things that are holding them back. But I still think that the pessimism around Europe, maybe it's a bit too much. And then to finish it off, here at home, I'm encouraged with what I've seen. I saw last year, in fact, our government bond has been one of the highest performers in the emerging markets, which has been good. On our equities have not performed well last year, but we are. But we've performed.
I think what's this US, the equivalent of all share index in the US? The
Fortune. S&P 500. Yes, sorry. S&P.
I want to check what it did in the last 12 months.
Okay. Well, you check that. Let me just finish my thought on us.
It did 25%.
It did 25%. That's fantastic. So we would have...
So you would have been rich if you invested in the Americans versus if you invested in South Africa.
In equities, yeah. No, it's... Bro, I think that thing is...
But it was also a concern because I read an article, so to cut you, you finish your thought. It was also a concern because I read an article that a lot of South African investors are actually moving their money to invest offshore.
Yeah.
Because there's no longer growth in South Africa.
Where offshore?
America, Southeast Asia. Yeah. But the difficulty in Southeast Asia, specifically in China, is getting your money out.
Sure. That's another challenge. That's a big challenge.
Like that's just the difficulty.
That is a big challenge. Yeah, bro. I think for me, it's very hard not to look at the United States at the moment, especially like knowing where to park your capital. I think with us, I saw we've been okay. The IMF has us at about 1.5%. Treasury has about 1.7%. The Reserve Bank is at about 1.6%. I read an article. This is GDP growth, no? I read an article yesterday on MoneyWeb. There's this one firm which actually has us at about 2.2% this year, citing those reasons of load shedding, of Transnet. It's all going to boil down to if the GNU can hold it together. I think if the GNU can hold it together, I don't see what's stopping us structurally from reaching a 2%. If we can reach a 2%, it can only mean good things for our equities and our portfolio.
It's interesting that whenever there's good economic indicators, the GNU is thrown in the mix.
Yeah, I guess.
And then if it's bad, then you think about,
yeah.
Man, we inherited this. They say that we inherited this from the previous government.
Oh my God!
But man, I think this has been a very good and interesting chat, man.
Yeah,
like,
man.
I think we're even almost over an hour now.
Yeah, no, we're done. Yeah.
But I think what I wanted to say was another thing in the mix in South African politics as well is EFF, man. Like what's happening in EFF is quite interesting. Like the brain drain that is
It's a brain drain, isn't it?
It is a brain drain that is happening in the EFF is quite interesting. So we'll see if the GNU survives, then I guess it will be interesting. But if it doesn't, then it opens the question of who the ANC goes to partner with. Because I mean, if they go partner with MK and EFF, they can get majority to rule. But then what are the policies that are going to come from that?
I'm actually very nervous. So that's the part that gets me nervous. And really, it's not personalities here. It's policy. Judging by the rhetoric, personally, I don't think those policies are in the best interest of the country. Yes. Not personalities, guys. I promise you, like, the reason why I get bored of political debate is that it rests on personalities, and it doesn't go beyond policies and frameworks and all that stuff. So yeah, my only contribution to this is that I hope the GNU works. I hope it works, bruh. And if it doesn't work, my God, then we have a little bit of uncertainty that we have to deal with in the Republic of South Africa.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be unfortunate. But I think the key takeaways is that it seems we are pretty much optimistic about the future of South Africa and the global future.
Yeah,
I'm not so much with Trump because I think he's very unpredictable. 1 minute is backing the ban and institute the ban on TikTok. The next minute is he wants TikTok to stay for some dubious reasons, and obviously there's an ownership element to it that the government, you have oversight if an American owns 50% of TikTok that is based in America. So there's that element, right? But I think South Africa should definitely be nervous of Trump because should definitely be nervous of Trump. And because of our ties with Russia and against Israel, I think Trump is one of the people that doesn't mince their words. And like you said, he does what he's going to do. And he's one of those people that he reminds me so much of Zuma, if I have to digress. Like Zuma would be going to sleep on a random Friday, and then on Saturday morning you wake up, Fikile Mbalula has been moved from transport to
I get it. I spoke to Mr. Johan Rupert late last year.
Yeah.
And I asked him that specific question about AGOA and Donald Trump and South Africa.
Yeah.
This was after he won the election. He was a president-elect then. And I asked him, what are the chances of South Africa staying in AGOA? And from what I hear from Mr. Rupert was that the US president actually appreciates South Africa and he actually likes it. He's been here before and he says he enjoys Cape Town. So like a disposition of a person that actually has a good thoughts on the country, I think maybe that does go a long way. And it's not just negative. So what I hear, that sentiment of the United States looking at South Africa, it's not terrible. And also because if you want, as a country, if you want more influence in territories around the world, Africa is a big territory that you'd want influence in.
And South
Your
Africa is a
real
big
gateway
in South
is
Africa.
the Republic of South Africa,
I agree.
geographically and economically. So I think it'll be absolutely silly for American policymakers. I don't think they're silly. I think they're smart. I think it'll be silly for them to cut their biggest gateway into Africa, especially when China is making inroads.
And China is what's interesting about China is that it's not military arm that does that. It's the money that talks.
Yeah.
China is going everywhere and building infrastructure. It's in Zambia, it's in Tanzania, it's everywhere. Zimbabwe, they've got a big infrastructure hold. So you can imagine stuff like that. And America is nervous about that, obviously. Like China is getting global influence through investing in infrastructure.
So having said that, why alienate an ally which you've got business ties with, which similar values, not same values, but similar values, rule of law, private property, deepish financial markets, that type of thing. Why alienate that one country?
Because of our ties with the enemy.
No. But like I'm saying, okay, but I think now I feel like you are underestimating the intelligence of the Americans here.
No, I'm not.
I really think you are.
I'm not. Look, I think this thing of American policymakers putting pressure on South African government for the reasons of our ties with America, with Russia and China, it is not something that has started now. It's been building up, right? And on top of that, not even just a rumor, a bill was put in the Senate.
I remember, but it didn't pass.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that at some point it might, At some point it might.
So
and someone like, the thing about the reason why I'm saying we must be nervous is that someone like Trump, right? That man makes policies on a whim like this. He does make policies on a whim like this.
Bro, he says America first. I'm telling you right now, if you alienate South Africa in the African continent, you're not putting America first.
But also don't underestimate the influence that America has in other African countries. Sure, South Africa is quite big in the African context, right? And contributing into the AU and all of that stuff. Sure, but also don't forget that America can find different ways of getting stuff done.
Mate, I'm looking at the modus operandi of the United States as to how they operate in different parts of the world. The reason why they have a strong tie in the Middle East in the form of not only Israel, but Saudi Arabia, is that they know that in order to have influence within that region, you need an in that shares similar values, and in that kind of aligns when it comes to the hard politics and the economics. There's no other country in this whole continent that even comes close to having alignment as well as similar values than this country.
Look, I think we can even debate this for the next hour, because
But it's fine.
I have so much reservation about America's presence in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Judging from the history of the things that has happened and transpired.
Yeah.
But let's not get into that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Thank you so much.
Are you excited about 2025?
Yeah, I am.
We're gonna have we'll talk about the buy list, some of the stocks that we recommend as buy.
Yeah.
But today we just thought, let's start with the economic environment and political environment that businesses actually operate in. Because, I mean, if tomorrow South African government decides, we're canning all the mining licenses and we nationalize the mines, then your stock is going to tank, right? Yeah. So it's important to understand the political environment and economic environment in which we operate in.
100%.
So that's why we thought, for the beginning of the year, let's start with that and
get this out of the way.
But other than that,
thank you so much, bro.
Thank you so much. And click like, subscribe, and be with us. You'll create 6% alpha.
Sure.